Notre Dame held their pro day this week, and the Colts were very well represented, including head coach Shane Steichen, and he had his eyes on a couple guys. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right. Thanks for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. This is your daily podcast covering your Indianapolis Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. What's up, everybody? This is Jake Arthur from horseshoehuddle.com, your resident credentialed media member for the site. And today we're talking all about Notre Dame's pro day that they had on Thursday. I was in attendance, as was pretty much a contingent from the Colts. Head coach Shane Steichen, special teams coordinator Brian Mason, and assistant special teams coordinator Joe Hastings, as well as Midwest area scout Mike Lacey. So South Bend for Notre Dame, just a few hours up the road for the Colts. But Shane Steichen isn't just at every pro day, so it's pretty notable when he is. So you kind of want to keep an eye on who he's watching. We'll kind of get into the main players here, and that's kind of who they had their eyes on. So Riley Leonard, Jack Kiser, Mitchell Evans, Benjamin Morrison, and Xavier Watts are the ones to really pay attention to for the Colts. Those are the guys probably going to get drafted the highest anyways. Leonard, the quarterback, of course, 3-year starter, transfer from Duke to Notre Dame, helped get Notre Dame all the way to the national championship. That's a dual threat quarterback, does plenty of running. Not the strongest passer in the world. That's definitely the biggest question he has to answer, especially the deep ball. He threw the ball pretty well during field work on Thursday. He had some really good throws there where he just totally uncorked it and let the wide receivers get under it. But there were a couple that he left kind of hanging a bit where receivers had to wait on it. It was pretty comparable to how you guys probably heard me describe Will Howard's day from Wednesday from Ohio State. Now, for a bit there, Shane Steichen and Riley Leonard were off in the back speaking one-on-one. And I'm getting a fairly good vibe that the Colts are interested in adding their third quarterback through the draft, probably late or like as a priority free agent. We know they're looking into Quinn Ewers quite a bit. Obviously, Riley Leonard is probably a late round guy at best, I would imagine, probably a priority free agent. So you got Anthony Richardson, you got Daniel Jones. You know that's the competition. Do you feel confident enough in kicking Jason Bean up to QB3 and Sam Ehlinger's spot? Or do you go into the draft and, rounds 5, 6, 7, get your new guy to basically be your developmental third quarterback in case of emergency, essentially your guy to battle it out with Jason Bean. But Leonard, when you look at their scouting reports, Leonard is just kind of a bigger Sam Ehlinger. Not the strongest arm in the world. It's okay. Again, questions as a passer, but very capable as a runner. Obviously, if you saw in the national championship, that was their MO to really use Riley Leonard a lot on the ground. So if you want kind of just a bigger Sam Ehlinger, he's a very good leader, good locker room guy. His teammates gravitate to him. So if you don't bring Sam Ehlinger back, a guy like Riley Leonard makes a lot of sense. Again, it looks like the Colts are doing their due diligence. They at least had Shane talk to him a little bit. Another guy who got a good bit of attention from the Colts was linebacker Jack Kiser. That's someone you've heard us talk about a lot on the show over the last couple months. I get the vibe this is for more of a depth linebacker special teams role. Brian Mason and Mike Lacey, and I think Joe Hastings were all talking to him quite a bit off to the side. And, they need that replacement for Grant Stewart, maybe even a replacement for Trevor Denbo, who suffered a catastrophic knee injury during the season. And, we were talking to Kaiser after the pro day, and Andrew Moore, friend of the show, asked him about special teams. And Kaiser said even on the punt team, he has experience basically making the calls, which is what Trevor Denbo was doing for the Colts. So Jack Kiser makes a lot of sense. I really liked what I saw from him at the Senior Bowl. I thought he covered really well. Short to intermediate stuff, he had everything on lock. He's not like some elite supreme athlete, but he's kind of a gamer. He plays really well on the field. His testing scores were fine. 4.62 in the 40, 34.5-inch vertical, 9'9" broad jump, 6.8 3-cone though, which makes a lot of sense because he's very quick, moves around well in short spaces. So Kaiser is a very, very intriguing option for me on day 3. They need depth linebackers. They're going to need a couple more guys for like special teams aces. And I think Jack Kiser could be just knock that out of the park. If you get him on day 3, that is an Indiana football dude. He comes from Pioneer High School, won Indiana Mr. Football, obviously went to Notre Dame a million years. Keep him in Indiana. Why not? Would be a good story. Tight end Mitchell Evans. That's a guy I like, mid-rounds, day 3 for them at tight end. I'm not opposed to them drafting 2 tight ends. You go and get a guy like Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, Mason Taylor, whoever, take your pick earlier in the draft. And if you need a guy who has some potential as a pass catcher in the short to mid game, red zone, but can block and be an inline blocker, Mitchell Evans is your guy. And I liked what I've seen from him throughout the pre-draft process. 4.69 40, which is okay. 33.5-inch vertical, 9'10" broad jump. Decent athlete, fine, nothing to write home about, but you could do much worse. There were some concerns about injuries with him. That's kind of his biggest knock. He had a broken foot in 2022 and tore his ACL in 2023, but lasted all the way in 2024. So he's more than a year removed from those big injuries and was able to play a full season last year. So Mitchell Evans is a low-risk, high-reward player, I think. Certainly capable of being a starting tight end, a guy who doesn't really have to leave the field. But then, you have another tight end in-house who is kind of the star. Think of Mitchell Evans as like your Mo Alley-Cox, for example, but maybe with a little better stealing, catching the ball. Benjamin Morrison, cornerback, 6 foot, 191. He has really good ball production. His first 2 years that he was a real player, he had 9 picks in those first 2 years. Suffered a hip injury that required surgery last year, and he's really only just now getting back to it. He didn't work out at the pro day, but he's supposed to have a private workout for NFL scouts here coming up in April. He said they're still kind of up in the air. They're working things out right now. But he said he's healthy and he's ready to go. Morrison is, but we have yet to see him work out. I don't know how well he fits with the Colts, I'll be honest with you. He's got pretty short arms. He's got a 75.5-inch wingspan. He's only got like 30-inch arms, which is well below what the Colts normally covet. Is coming off that hip injury, was never really known for elite speed. He's got the ball production with it, which I think is endearing, and he's got good coverage skills. But I just don't know if he is really what the Colts are looking for. Again, coming off that injury, he's not lengthy. He's got shorter arms, but he's only 6 foot, so it's not like he's got long arms to make up for it. So I don't know. That one's pretty questionable. If he's there like in round 3, maybe they take a swing on it, but he's supposed to be gone, by the end of round 2. I don't really see it for the Colts. The last guy here we'll talk about at the top of the show is Xavier Watts, the safety. Been waiting to see him work out. Didn't work out at the combine. Didn't go to the Senior Bowl because their season ran so long. So he was saving it all for Thursday. 6 foot 205, good size as a safety. Big questions about his speed and athleticism. He ran under 4.6, which is good because I think it would have been awful for his draft stock if he ran in the 4.6s or worse. 4.56 is about what you would hope to see from him to answer questions about speed. For a safety, you could do worse. It's fine. 4.56 is fine. You obviously want more. 35-inch vertical, 9'10" broad. So he whelmed at the pro day, basically, in terms of testing scores. He basically verified the tape. What you questioned about him or had the but about him, he probably didn't do much to increase or decrease people's thoughts there. The field workout I thought went really well. Caught pretty much everything, looked good doing it. He just got natural ball skills. And I talked to him after the pro day, and I said, you've got like a high football IQ, and you always seem to be kind of a step ahead. What's the value of film study to you before the game? And he puts a lot of work in behind the scenes, especially with film study and understanding what the other offense is doing. So that's very important to him. These Notre Dame guys, I've covered their pro days for 2 or 3 years now, talked to them a bunch of times at the combine throughout the years. This program just churns out smart football players who really are into their craft and do the right thing when it comes to being prepared. You can't really play for Marcus Freeman or Brian Kelly beforehand if you're not prepared. And so you're not always going to get uber athletes at Notre Dame, but you're always going to get smart football players. And all of these guys, I guess with the exception of Morrison, I could really see being coveted by the Colts. We either know there's interest there, saw them talking to him, or they just really fit. So Morrison, we'll see. He's not the normal Colts cornerback. He's not really the normal Lou Anarumo quarterback, but we'll see. And coming up, there were some other participants who maybe in the later rounds maybe could make a little bit of sense for the Colts. We'll get into those guys in just a moment. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you guys the chance to get in on all that action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. What do we think? Can Purdue get back to the final? They are looking tough this year, and obviously things didn't end how they wanted to before. But regardless, FanDuel makes it easy to get them to back them with the spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening all the time, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on all the college hoops action all tournament long. All right, so there were several other participants there up in South Bend on Thursday, but a few key guys who make some sense for the Colts. So Bo Collins is a guy that a lot of people kind of circle. I could see him as maybe a camp invite or, maybe a local pro day or, just a rookie camp guy, because I don't know that he's going to be drafted necessarily. But again, Bo Collins, 6'3", 198, ran a 4.52, so not elite speed, but for that size, 6'3", 198, 4.52 is pretty decent. 38-inch vertical and a 10'10" broad, so he's got some explosive qualities there. Played 3 years at Clemson, then transferred to Notre Dame in 2024. Again, for his size, he moves pretty well. He's got adequate speed, but he does have injury concerns and very questionable hands that plagued him basically throughout his career, through Clemson, through Notre Dame. A guy like that normally has like elite speed or elite explosion. You kind of think like a Martavis Bryant, for example. But Collins, he's got decent play speed, but 4.52 is pretty verifiable, I think. Again, I think he'll be a late round guy if he gets picked up. I don't know if it's going to be by the Colts, but, he's certainly someone you could bring in as a camp body, a rookie minicamp tryout, something like that. If he's around, he's intriguing nonetheless. Like, he does some nice things, catches in traffic, and he can move the chains for you a little bit when he does catch the ball. Now some guys who make a lot more sense. Riley Mills, defensive tackle. Now, he tore his ACL around playoff time, so he has not been able to participate in anything workout-wise this offseason. But he's pretty intriguing. 6'5", 296. Could be one of those kind of interchangeable guys behind DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. Again, you're kind of phoning it in for a rookie year, so this is a guy that's probably going to be picked late. He's a good athlete, though. He was a Freaks List member. And he's really increased his productivity throughout his career. Before he got hurt this year, he had 8.5 tackles for loss and 7.5 sacks. For a big boy up the middle who's 300 pounds, those are pretty good numbers. So he's really strong. Kind of reminds me, if you're looking at sort of a Colts comparison, Henry Anderson out of Stanford back in the day, playing for the Colts back in the 2010s. Real endearing, fan favorite kind of guy, like a 3-4 defensive end body type. Has decent length for it as well. Again, the Colts, he's not like a defined 3 tech or a defined nose. He's just kind of an interchangeable kind of guy. You could use him situationally, but we'll see if a team gives him a chance to maybe even get drafted again. You're drafting a guy with a torn ACL there. His running mate on the defensive line and defensive tackle, Howard Cross the third. Pretty intriguing. 6'1", 283. There's actually a team at the combine that asked him to work out at fullback. And it doesn't seem like something he is super into the idea, but is willing to do it. He made it sound like, it would be a bit of a change, but if a team wants me to work out at fullback, then I'm certainly willing to do it. Nothing has really come of that yet. He's still worked out at defensive tackle solely, other than that one request by whatever team at the combine. But he's real tenacious. He's very stout. He doesn't at 6'1", 283. He lacks length and size. He doesn't have the athleticism to make up for it. So he's just kind of a guy, but he's going to give you a lot of effort. And, he's worth a free agent look, I think, an undrafted free agent look if he's out there. Just a guy that is at least going to compete and, he's going to work hard. And at worst, he's got a floor as an okay run defender if he's able to slip some blocks. The last guy here is Mitch Jeter. Again, Brian Mason was watching him carefully while he was kicking, was right up with him, was talking to him. Kid from South Carolina, 4 years there, and then transferred to Notre Dame in 2024. 36 of 46 career on field goal, 78.3%. 131 and 134 extra points, 98%. So doesn't really miss extra points. He was pretty erratic during his kicking workout, I'll be honest. He went basically from the extra point line back to 60 yards and had a few misses in there. So it wasn't great, I'll be honest, but you're going to have a lot of eyes on you in the NFL. I don't want to bury the kid too much. Spencer Schrader was known for being really erratic as well. And now look, he's going to be competing with Matt Gay to be the Colts kicker. So Jeter is maybe someone the Colts bring in again. I don't know if you want to have more than 2 kickers. I mean, Brian Mason was certainly talking to him, so maybe there's something there, but I wouldn't recommend carrying more than 2 kickers at a time. I certainly don't think Zach would recommend that either. So maybe we'll have a kicking camp battle for Zach to break down someday. We'll see. But that is it for us today, guys. If you want to become a Locked On Colts insider and chat with us directly and get the inside scoop, follow the link in our show notes. If you don't already, follow at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at ZachX2 on Twitter. We're also on TikTok and Instagram as well. Zach and I individually are on Blue Sky. Also, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. We love your ratings and reviews as well. That's always very valuable for us. And with that, you guys have a great day, and we will see you later.